Most photographs fail before the shutter even opens because freezing everything feels safe, and safety quietly kills the photograph. Photography is the only place where you decide how fast time moves, and most of us rush it. This episode is about why slowing down changed everything. I used to think that faster was safer. Faster shutter, sharper images, less risk. And that idea followed me outside of photography. Move quickly, decide quickly, and don't slow down. But photography also taught me something I didn't expect. Speed does not equal control. Shutter speed is controlled directly on your camera, and you can usually find it in one of two places. If your camera has a dial mode, look for TV or S. TV stands for time value, S stands for shutter priority. Shutter speed is simply time. It's the amount of time that you allow light to enter the camera and how long you allow that image to exist in your frame. That time controls motion. A fast shutter speed freezes movement. A slow shutter speed allows movement to appear. When you shoot in shutter priority mode, the camera automatically adjusts the aperture to balance the exposure. If you choose a fast shutter speed, the camera opens the aperture to let more light in. If you choose a slow shutter speed, the camera closes the aperture. This lets you focus on the motion while the camera manages the light. If you understand that, shutter speed stops being confusing. Let's start with the basics. To make this practical, think of 3 zones: fast, middle, and slow. Shutter speed is managed in fractions of seconds or full seconds. A fast shutter speed is typically 1/500th of a second or faster. Use this when you want to freeze motion, like birds in flight, sports, and running children. Middle shutter speeds live between 1/60th of a second and 1/250th of a second. This is where most photography happens: street scenes, travel, people walking, and handheld landscapes. Slow shutter speeds are 1/30th of a second and slower. This is where photography becomes more intentional. This is where motion becomes visible. Water softens, crowds blur, and traffic turns into lines. Before slowing down your shutter, every beginner needs to know this. Your shutter speed should not be slower than your focal length of your camera. This rule exists for one reason: your hands move, even when you think they don't. The longer the lens, the more the movement is amplified. A 24mm lens you can usually handhold at 1/30th of a second or faster. A 50mm lens, aim for 1/60th or faster. A 100mm lens, aim for 1/125th of a second. These numbers are not about perfection, they're about consistency. This rule does not guarantee sharp images, but it drastically reduces the amount of camera shake. Just think of it that my shutter speed should be slightly faster than my lens length. Once you understand that limit, you'll realize when it's time to stabilize your camera or use a tripod. When shutter speed slows down, camera movement becomes the main problem for blurred images. And at this point, hand-holding is no longer reliable. And this is when a tripod is required. A tripod keeps the camera still while the shutter is open. This allows motion in the scene to blur while the camera remains sharp. And the shutter can remain open for unlimited amounts of time as long as the camera remains still. If you don't have a tripod, stabilize the camera using solid objects: walls, railings, benches, table, whatever's available to make a steady base. You can also improve stability by pulling the camera strap tight around your neck and keeping your elbows close to your body. If the camera moves during exposure, the entire image blurs. Now let's bring in the other settings. Shutter speed does not work alone. It works alongside with aperture and ISO. When you change one, something else must adjust. Think of it as borrowing light from one of the other settings. If you have a fast shutter speed, less light enters the camera, so you must compensate by opening the aperture or raising the ISO. If you use a slow shutter speed, more light enters the camera. You can lower the ISO or close the aperture. ISO controls how sensitive the sensor in the camera is to light. Lower ISO values produce cleaner images. Higher ISO values make the sensor more sensitive, but will increase grain and noise. As a beginner, keep the ISO values as low as possible for the best image quality. Raise it only when you need more light and can't slow the shutter or open the aperture. Photography is always a balance between these 3 settings: aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. This is where shutter speed becomes creative. When using a slow shutter speed, ask yourself these 2 questions. What stays sharp and what can move? This is where choice matters. If your camera is stable and your subject is still, motion around it will blur. A bridge stays sharp and the water moves. If you stay still, The traffic becomes lines. Blur is not a mistake when you shoot with intention. Here are 3 simple exercises. Exercise 1. Photograph the same scene at 4 shutter speeds. 1 at 1/1000th of a second, 1 at 250th of a second, 1 at 60th of a second, and 1 at 15th of a second. Exercise 2. Photograph water 3 ways. Frozen with a fast shutter speed, partially blurred with a medium shutter speed, and smooth with a slow shutter speed. Exercise 3. Find a busy location, use a tripod or a stable surface, choose one subject that won't move, and shoot at 1 or 2 seconds. As I prepare for a slower life in Vietnam, these lessons feel familiar. Vietnam is movement. Scooters, markets, light shifting constantly. A fast shutter speed freezes that, and sometimes that's what you want. But using a slow shutter speed allows the place to speak. It shows rhythm without interruption. Shutter speed is not about controlling motion. It's about choosing how motion appears. Sharpness is not clarity. Clarity comes from intention. The moment you decide what stays still and what moves, this is when the image makes sense, in photography and in life. If you want to go deeper, I've created a growing library of photography ebooks that break these ideas down step by step. You can find them on my website on the link below. If this episode helped you see motion differently, like the video and subscribe. There's more to come. The light doesn't wait, and neither should we.